guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Saturday, June 11th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SC Russell. We are talking Schoolboy Duels, Greco, which wrapped up last night. We'll get to the Cadet Duels Freestyle Day 1, maybe at the end of this episode, maybe not, but the full wrap-up will be obviously tomorrow. Anyway, let's jump into Schoolboy Duels. Try to keep this to as close to 6 minutes or 10 minutes as we can. And this is your top 8. New Jersey took first. Indiana gold second. Illinois, Utah, Iowa, Washington, PA blue, and California for the Schoolboy Duels. None of our Southeast schools or Southeast states made the top 8. Tennessee came close. They battled their way through, but we'll get to that in a second and talk a little bit about that in a little bit more detail. Florida and Georgia ended up in the red-blue pool together. Alabama and North Carolina ended up in the green-yellow pool together. So let's jump to Team Georgia first. And they started out in Pool B. Drew Iowa in the first round, which was tough. Iowa ended up 5th overall. So 57-21 loss. Bounced back, beat North Carolina 79-5, but then again ran into tough teams in Ohio Gray and Pennsylvania Red to finish, I think, 6th in Pool B. That dropped them to the red-blue pool, where they went 3-1 on the day. Their only loss to their rivals to the south, Team Florida, 44-37. Overall, a good tournament for Team Georgia. Some outstanding individual performances for Team Georgia. We'll get to those at the end. But yeah, they finished pretty much middle of the pack in Greco. All right, so let's jump to Team Florida, who beat Team Georgia in that red-blue pool. They started out in Pool C. They also had a tough draw. They pulled Michigan blue first. Then they beat Nebraska, lost to Maryland in a close one, and beat Oklahoma blue to finish 2-2 on day 1. In the red/bluer pool, as I put on the graphic, obviously not sure why it's bluer, they went 3-1, wrestled exceptionally well, beating Virginia, Georgia, Indiana blue, before losing to Pennsylvania Red 44-39 for second in red-blue pool. Overall, wrestled really well. Again, some outstanding individual performances. I think they had 3 that ended up unbeaten in Greco, but we'll get to that at the end. Tennessee, what happened with Tennessee is the opposite of what happened in the 14U side, and that is they battled their way. They beat Virginia, and then Minnesota Storm 37-35 in a great duel to make the finals in Pool D. They then lost to Pennsylvania Blue in a really good matchup, but then had to wrestle California for true second to make the top 8, dropping that duel 46-34 and falling into the bronze-copper pool, where they were really competitive. I mean, they wrestled really, really well. They beat Maryland, which was a very good squad, Minnesota Thunder 44-38, before losing 2 good matches, especially against Wisconsin, 45-42. And if you go back and watch some of these duels, you can totally tell where the kind of momentum starts to change and where they're able to pull out some wins or, take that loss that kind of would push them over the top. All right, so let's jump to Alabama and North Carolina. Alabama, if you remember back to the preview, both Alabama and North Carolina came in with far fewer wrestlers in their lineup. So it wasn't a surprise to see both of these teams fall into the green-yellow pool. Really, at the end of the day, for both Alabama and North Carolina, it wasn't about dual wins or dual losses. It was about individuals and individuals wrestling well. North Carolina had a few that wrestled really well. Alabama had a few that really wrestled very well to kind of show where they stand in terms of 14U Greco. So let's jump to those individuals. And we could start things off with Team Alabama, which saw Jackson Unger go 7-0 at 125. Jackson was lights out. I mean, he wrestled fantastic, really wasn't pushed. Now, again, if you've watched any of the others, it's important to talk that not all records are created equal. Jackson had a fantastic record. In fact, I think he wrestled all of his matches, so he didn't have any forfeits in there, and he still was 7-0. But to be fair, he didn't wrestle in the gold-silver pool or the bronze-copper pool, where he might have been pushed by a kid from Pennsylvania or a kid from this place or a kid from that place. So, we just have to keep it in perspective. Jackson is certainly one of the top schoolboys at 125 in Greco, but would like to have seen him compete against some of them. Will Atkinson, Coleman Savine, both went 6-1. For Team North Carolina, Jack Hardy was 6-1 at 149. I believe he beat Ronan On of Georgia in a good match. All these matches start to run together after you've watched them a few different times. And then down below, you've got Team Georgia. The Mills boys down below started things off, wrestled really well. I think T Mills, he lost 2 really close matches to end up 6-2 at 77 pounds. Cooper MacArthur, who it looks like I misspelled on this. I apologize, Cooper. Wrestled lights out. 5-1 at 83 pounds. And I believe his only loss was to Hayden Schwab of Iowa. Really, really wrestled well. I watched his one loss that he had. But, Team Georgia wasn't just those 3 at the bottom. Paxton Leggett, Mahai Nekula, Ronan On, Robert McCoy. They actually had quite a few throughout the lineup that wrestled super, super well. And yeah, they showed that in Greco they have an opportunity to make the podium in July. All right, so individual 2. Team Tennessee, they were really, really pushed, or really led by Hudson Chittum, Gary High, Malachi Puckett. Each were 8-0. Each made the All-Greco team. Seamus Reagan was fantastic, 7-1. I think Seamus's loss, and again, if I'm saying that wrong, please let me know. I think his only loss was to Keegan Bassett, 8-7, and a barn burner. And if you don't know, Keegan Bassett, younger brother of Bo Bassett, Pennsylvania. So right there at the top, amongst the top 87-pounders in 14U Greco. Team Florida, 3, I mentioned it, 3 at the top. Vasquez, Basil, and Andrews all went 8-0. You had a couple at the bottom, Everett Stevens and Giovanni Solis, who were 7-1. Overall, some really outstanding performances for the 14Us from the Southeast. Always like to look at the schoolboys to kind of see how the cadets will be next year and how these teams will kind of continue to progress and how they kind of match up or compare to some of the other top states around as these individuals become, your next top individuals in the state. So, fantastic weekend, it's Saturday. Fantastic 2 days of wrestling for Greco. The schoolboys are on to their freestyle this morning, and the cadets are wrestling their freestyle pools, their gold, silver, bronze, copper pools, red, blue pool, yada, yada, yada. Right now, this afternoon, I think Team Florida was the only team to make the top 8. And right now, I think they're in the middle of their second match in that gold-silver pool. So tune in to Track Wrestling. Go back and watch some of these matches. And, I'll touch base with you guys tomorrow. Talk a little bit about Cadet Duels Freestyle before we start talking about juniors and girls next week and Disney Duels coming up. Busy time. Hope you guys are enjoying it.